Everybody, thanks for joining today. Going to give a few more minutes while some people continue to join. We'll get started in a few minutes. Thanks. Okay, first off, I want to start by thanking everybody who was able to join us today. If this is the first of our innovation series that you've been able to make it to, I want to let you know that we had two prior to this. The first one was automating your receipts routing. And then after that, we had also a modern shop floor experience utilizing the UDO and UX1 features. So today we're going to be talking about CRM to planning and kind of tracking your customers' needs all the way through utilizing JD Edwards CRM and how that integrates into the planning modules when utilizing quotes. Like I said before, if you didn't get a chance to attend the first two webinars, they have been recorded and they are available for you. You could gain access to those by following the bit.ly URL at the bottom of the screen. So just take a second, write that down, and you would be able to get access to both of those. They are both out there right now, as will be this one at the end of today and our last two that we're going to end up doing, which is on advanced pricing as well as production scheduling. Your presenters. So my name's Adam Ferris. I've been with Trillium for almost 9 years now. I'm a solution architect specializing mainly in the distribution areas as well as some of the new tool set, the UDO functionality and Orchestrator. I did the very first presentation, which was around the automated receipts routing. Along with me is Brian Rose, who's a manager at Trillium and in charge of our manufacturing practice. He did the second presentation, which was on a modern shop floor. We're both going to kind of be tag teaming this presentation today. So I'm going to kick it off talking about CRM, what those capabilities are, and then Brian's going to be covering all of the planning and how all of that kind of integrates together within the system. If you need to ask questions at any point during this webinar, please just look at the little Q from the GoToWebinar, and you can hit the question, type in your question there, and throughout the presentation, Brian's going to interrupt me if there are any questions during my portion, as I will do the same for him once he takes over for the second half. All right, so let's get into the topic. CRM to planning. So the first thing we're going to do is cover a CRM overview and do a little bit of a demo showing you some of the basic JD Edwards CRM functionality. We're going to create a new lead, turn it into an opportunity, and create a quote out of that, and then we'll hand it off to Brian to show the planning overview and the demo of that to kind of talk about that transition and how we can keep track of those quotes all the way through the system. And then we'll follow a Q&A. So for our CRM overview, I wanted to let you know that there are 3 portions to JD Edwards CRM. There's the overall CRM foundation license. Then there's the Salesforce automation, as well as the support and service. If you wanted to utilize all three of those areas, they are three separate licenses. What you're going to be seeing from me today is just the CRM foundation license, as well as the a little bit of the Salesforce automation. I'll point out where that comes into play, but I'm not going to be doing any of the support and service for today's presentation. As far as JD Edwards CRM is concerned, this is the flow that you kind of see with the leads and opportunities and orders that go through the system. You do have the ability to import leads in JD Edwards. JD Edwards leads are prospects, so they're not considered customers yet. They do not have a customer record in the address book. If you went into the address book and tried to find a lead that you had created, you will not find it. Once that lead is converted to an opportunity and you want to try and create a quote or a sales order from that at that point is when they turn into a customer. So it creates their customer master record. You would be able to find them in the JD Edwards address book from that point. From within the opportunities, you can submit quotes, create quotes. You can also create orders. And then we're going to talk about how that moves into the planning and forecasting as well. One thing that's really nice about the CRM and JD Edwards is that it already has the pre-built integration to all of your items, all of the pricing for those customers. So once you have a customer that's turned into an opportunity and they start to establish some ordering, you have their pricing set up. Anytime that you go in there and create new opportunities for them, the pricing that you have set up for them is going to always come in for all the quotes that you would create after that point. So keys to configuration for JD Edwards CRM. First one is determining your sales methodologies. So what are the different steps that you want to follow while tracking these leads and opportunities? You need to identify those within the system. They need to be configured along with different scores. So based on which step you're in the middle of that methodology, what's your probability to close it, and things like that. Next, you need to define your qualification parameters. So does this person have a budget? Does this company have an idea of how long it is before they're going to want to make this order, and so on. And then next, how will your category codes represent the industries and territories? Ultimately, those category codes are going to help drive your commissions for your sales reps and also help you with any reporting down the road. So you want to make sure that you're determining how you want to identify those category codes and be able to slice and dice that data for any of these leads and opportunities in the future. So what is a JD Edwards lead? Like I said, when you enter leads in JD Edwards, you record contact information, company, title, address, phone, email. It's all a potential, wrapped around the idea of a potential customer though. So there's a status on it, a date and time, an industry, website, what's their credit history, and they're all tracked through JDE, but not recorded in the address book because they're not a customer yet. Once that turns into an opportunity, then they are officially a prospect and customer within the address book. From the opportunity, we can track several additional features and factors as far as current opportunities. So it'll keep track of all the open quotes that you have, any of the past sales that you've had, past quotes. It'll help track a pipeline. That's part of the Salesforce automation, is you can look at a pipeline, what you have out there, what their past quotes were, their sales orders were, etc. To set up our demo for today, we're going to go through and we're going to pretend that John Wayne from Far Out Bicycling has contacted us. He said that he wants to purchase a few different bikes. He's looking to purchase two different types, a 210 and a 220, and he's got about a $130,000 budget that can be used. John is looking to purchase within the next 2 months. So I'm going to go out there during our demo right now. We're going to create a lead from scratch. We're going to convert it into an opportunity, and then we're going to go out and create that quote that eventually Brian's going to be able to look at on his planning section.
Hey, Adam. So while you're transitioning over to the demo, we've got a couple of questions for you. So the first one is, can you add attachments to the leads in JDE, such as images, PDFs, etc.?
Yes, you can. You can do that in both the leads and the opportunities.
Okay, and then the second one is manually changed from opportunity to AB records, question mark, or is there a way to automatically convert it from the lead?
It will do it automatically, and I'm going to show that. There's a button that you click from within the lead record, and once you are prepared to convert that lead into an opportunity, it will do it automatically for you. There is some additional information that you're going to need to populate in the opportunity. That's information that's not required as part of the lead, but it will carry over all that information that you previously had entered in the lead into that opportunity record and that customer record.
Great.
Good questions. So to start, I've got a page that I built here. We've got some watch lists on our left-hand side for our active leads, new leads, opportunities that are over 50% to close, and then also some open quotes that are ready to flip. In the center of my screen, this is what JD Edwards calls their Customer 360 app. So from within this, I can look up any of those customer records. I can drill into them, and it's going to look a little bit different than what you would see from your standard address book or customer master screen. We'll get into that and kind of show you what all those features are and all the different things you can do within there. On the right-hand side, I have a springboard. So my springboard is all of those CRM activities that I want to be able to get to quickly. You can send email blasts out from JD Edwards if you want to. Of course, we're going to be creating leads, creating opportunities, tracking a couple activities, and then also we'll be looking at our calendar, and I'll show you what that calendar view looks like as well. So let's get in, and we'll start by creating our lead for John Wayne and Far Out. So I'm going to go into the lead inquiry. You can see that right now I have a default query that's looking at active leads. From here, I'm just going to click an add. And you'll also notice, I'm going to go back real quick, there's the ability to import. So you do have the ability that if let's say that you do a road show and you've got all kinds of leads that you capture from your road show of different customers that want to purchase some different products. As long as you're able to capture and identify the necessary information in JD Edwards in an Excel spreadsheet that you can import in, then you could actually take that spreadsheet from your event, come here into JD Edwards, import all of those leads from that event, and then track them from that point on. So there is the import capability as well, rather than just doing the one-by-one tracking, which is nice. So we're going to add a new lead. John, company is Far Out. For our industry, we're going to go ahead and just put them in manufacturing. You would have this is configurable to whatever your industries would be for your customers. I have to put something out there. They're in the US. And then we'll go through, put in the rest of their address information. I've got their phone number, fax, if they still have it, our email, and then their website. All right, so the lead owner, the person who's creating the lead, that's going to default to whoever the address book record is that's creating it or importing it. What's our source? So this is where I said that you can identify, all right, is this an advertising lead? Did someone reach out to us from our website? Was this from a trade show? Was it a referral? Depending on what type of opportunity you had to talk with this person, you may have several different ways that you could have reached out to them. So we'll say that they were a web lead. Status, right now they're a new lead, right? So we've just established a contact with them, and we're going to start communicating with them from this point. So I'll save and close. So now we've got our lead created. I'm going to take this query off real quick. So here's our Far Out bicycling. So we've got John Wayne. It's got all of his information that you can see here from this lead screen. As I scroll across, you can see that I've got all of the date or all of the address information, what the source was. So if you wanted, you could come out here and sort all of these leads by source if you needed to. my qualification goal to convert it into an opportunity is 70%. You could convert a lead manually into an opportunity prior to that, and it would just really be up to you based on the conversation. Things might move faster than what you had anticipated. If that's the case, then that's okay. So we're going to go back into that, and I'm going to show you some of the things that we can track on this lead. So now that we've got all that information entered, we've got a few different additional things that we can track. So for instance, we've got our classifications. Here's where we can track all of those category codes that we can say, all right, what are the different areas that they're in? What sort of, who's our sales reps? What are our regions? Any way that you want to track that and slice and dice that for reporting, you can do that. If you have multiple addresses for this lead, you can keep track of them there. For our qualifications, there are some questions that you can put in here. So this is all configurable based on the types of questions that you want to track. The three basic ones that we have in here right now is, first, does the customer have a budget? So if the answer is yes, we'll say yes. Next is, what is their budget? We have several different ranges. So we'll say, John said that his budget was around 130,000. So we're going to put him in this category. And then when are they looking to purchase the product? He said, hopefully in 1 to 2 months. So we're going to put that in there and save that. Next, product interest. So if you're keeping track of product catalogs, you could go out there and search from the catalog and put in the catalog that they're interested in. That's really up to you. Are there any partners that are going to be involved with this? And then next is the activities, which is where you're really doing all that tracking and communication with that customer. So for instance, the first time that we talked with them was probably at that on the web, and they emailed us potentially. So we could say that the first contact was an email, and the date that it was completed was today's date. And this would be for your searching. If we wanted to add an activity, I'm going to come out here, add one. All right, so our subject was initial contact. The activity type was an email. And then as we go through, what was the result? We got a positive response. He gave us a lot of information, right? We don't need a partner on this right now. And then down here, I have the ability to assign someone. So is there a sales rep that I want to assign to this lead? If not, it'll just keep everything under my address book, my current address book number.
Hey, Adam, we got one more question, and it's related to those lead statuses that you were just showing. The question is, are those customizable / are they UDC?
Yes, the lead statuses are configurable. So you have to come up with how you want all of those different steps to update your statuses as far as what your qualification goal is. And depending on the fields that you update, what is the score range that you're going to use for that step. And I'll show you a little bit of how that works also once we get to the opportunity side. For instance, once we get on the opportunity side, the only way that you can turn an opportunity into an actual sales order without doing a quote first is if you update it to won the business. Won the business puts you at 100%, and that's the only way that will actually allow you to create a sales order from that section. Otherwise, you have to create a quote, and then you would have to go through the process of going to the quote application and flipping that quote into a sales order from there. So it's all configurable. And those are some things that you guys would have to do up front, and making sure that you understand what you want your statuses to be and how the different settings are going to walk you through those statuses to follow these contacts. All right, so here's our activity that we just logged. And as you continue to log activities, you're going to grow a list here of all those times that you've reached out to that lead. Next, the question that we had about attachments. Here we can do text attachments, as well as we can do virtual attachments, so documents and things like that. You can attach a file or a URL or just do text. So you do have the ability to keep all of that together, all related to that lead. And you'll also see that we have the ability to do that on our opportunity side as well. All right, so we've got our lead. We've been contacting them, and it looks like John wants to move forward, okay? So now, rather than him being a new lead, he's going to be an active lead. We're going to save our changes. And when we come back out here, now he's going to be part of our active watch list. Now what you'll notice is this is all set up based off of a status. So whether they're active, new, things like that. And now that he's been added to that, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to say, all right, John's ready to move forward. We're going to convert him to an opportunity. So this button right here, convert lead, I'm going to click it. This lead's been converted to an account. So I'm going to close out of here. What you'll notice is it's no longer in my active area. It has now been converted to an opportunity. So I'm going to leave my lead screen. I'm going to come to my opportunities. And there's far out bicycling. And what you'll also notice is if I come over here, this is my customer 360 screen. Now I've got my far out bicycling with a customer number as well. So they're currently as a prospect. Once we've finalized that they're going to be a customer and they're going to start purchasing from us, we can update their search type.
Hey, Adam, another question.
Okay.
So the question here is asking, is there a way to track active leads on an existing customer instead of a new customer through this process?
Yes. So once you have a customer record created, you'll see through when I go through the customer 360 screen that there is an area that we can look at open sales orders, open quotes. You can see pipeline related to them. So I'll show you all that once we get through and we convert this opportunity to an order, and then we have something that we can see on there. And I'll even look up a customer that would have a lot more information related to them so that you can see that, since that question was asked. All right, so we're going to go into our opportunity. All right, so you can see most of our information has come over. What sort of qualification process are we going through? We're just going through the basic qualification. What's our sales methodology? So depending on the sales methodology, you're going to have different steps in your cycle. So right now we're just going to use the basic sales process, and the basic sales process allows for an initial contact, a quote, a follow-up, and then either a won or a loss of business. Right now, you can see that our goal is 75%, probability is 15% just based on what we've entered. Our budget amount is 130,000, so we'll make sure that we capture that. Our contact is John Wayne, so we want to make sure that we assign him. And then also down here, we can show which items it was that he's interested in. So he told us that he wanted a few of these 210s. He also told us that he wanted some of the 220s. All right, so he's got some touring bikes, some mountain bikes. My pricing came in based off of the pricing that was already set up for them. If you don't have pricing set up specific to that customer, it'll bring in the base price. So whatever the base price is for that item without any discounts for special customers, that's what it's going to bring in from the get-go. Next, let's save this. All right, next we have our qualification. So here, the reason that it brings it up again is now we're qualifying the opportunity. So you could have a completely different set of questions for your qualifications on an opportunity than you do your lead. In our case, they're the same, so we're just going to go through and answer them the same way because nothing's changed. Say okay. Sale driver, so if there's any competition, competitive pricing that you're going to keep track of, you can add that out there, and it can be assigned based on the customer type or the opportunity type. Cost, so this cost section is going to track all of our costs associated with trying to win this business. So did your sales guys go on site? Did they take them out to dinner? Was there any mailing information that was sent to them? What sort of expenses did you have trying to win this business? That's everything that you can track in here. Influencer, so you can put all of the information in there for the person who's going to be the influencer for them. You create an address book record for them and keep track of that. There may be different influencers by customer depending on what the project is or what the items are. Many customers would have different a lot of different buyers depending on the area, and maybe they buy a few different things from you. If you want to keep information on competitors, you can keep that in here as well. So based on the types of information that they types of items that they would typically buy, we can keep some competition information in here and kind of understand, all right, if they're brought into the picture, what are we dealing with? What sort of things are we competing against? Next, we've got our cycle step. It was just the initial contact. It's tracking where we're at within this process. Our activities, so right here, we've got all of our activities that are by the opportunity. And then we get to our sales portion. Sales here, we're going to be able to see, all right, assign our sales team, and this will also help drive our commissions. So anybody who's responsible for winning this business, we can assign those salespeople, and also it'll bring from your commission setup, it'll bring all that information in here so that we can see the commissions that they would get for this deal. Quotes. So once I create some quotes, we're going to have some information out here. As you can see, there's nothing out there now. We'll go and create one. It'll also keep track of those sales orders once you have sales orders out there against it. And we also have those attachments. Same ordeal. We can do text attachments. We can do documents, URLs, whatever it is that you want to put in there. We can track it on the opportunity. All right. We're going to go back into the opportunity. We're going to say at this point that we've completed our initial contact, and now we're to the quote process. All right. So we're going to save the changes. And as you can see right here, I have two buttons. I have convert to quote and I have convert to sales order. Now, what I was telling you earlier is it's going to allow us to create a quote because it's set up so that quotes can be created prior to winning the business. Sales orders, not so much. So if I try to convert this to a sales order, it's saying, hey, you cannot convert this to a sales order. Your probability is only at 50% right now. You haven't won the business. What I'll do is I'll create the quote. I'll show you that process and how simple it is. And then we'll come back in here and I'll show you that once you win the business, that it would let you actually create that sales order. So instead, we're going to close out of that error, and then we're going to go ahead and convert this to a quote. Brings me into my P4210 version that I'm calling. It's going to ask me if for a quote, there's no PO, right? So this is just quote number one. Which branch are we trying to quote this out of? Do we have a date? Any of that other pertinent information that you would need for a sales order, you can put it in here. So I'm going to save and continue. Now we're into our detail. It brings over all of our item information that we had related to that opportunity. If they decided that, all right, we want a quote, but we only want to include one of the items, it's very simple to come in here and just cancel a line if you need to. We're going to leave both of them on there and keep it on there for the quote. So from that point, we're just going to submit and close. Now, if I come up to my Salesforce automation, I look for my quotes. Here's that quote that I just created. And this is the quote that Brian's going to be able to see when he runs his planning. So he's going to be able to see planning information out there related to that quote based off of the supply and demand inclusion and roles that he created. Now for the sales order, if you got to a point where you wanted to create a sales order from here, the same thing could be done, but instead of being at the quote step, we have to be at the step where we've won the business. And what you'll see when we win the business, our probability goes to 100%. And we also have a reason. So our win or loss, whenever you have a win or loss, you're going to track why did we win it, why did we lose it. So we're going to say that we won it because we had the best product. So from here, I can save these changes, and then I'm going to convert this to a sales order. And it's the exact same process. It's asking which branch are we converting from. At this point, they would have given us a purchase order, so you could have just come in and you knew that they were interested in those products from the beginning based off of the information that was in their customer 360 record. And you could go out there and create the sales order as opposed to creating a quote. You can see our SO type, and you could finish that out. I'm going to look up a different customer that's got a lot of information real quick so that you can see what it looks like when you have lots of information against one customer record. All right, So we've got Richard's products. We're going to go into the customer 360 view. This is the customer 360 view for those of you that maintain address book records as well as the customer master records. You're going to see a lot of information here that's all put together, which is nice. So we've got what is our address type. When we get to address and phone, it's all the basic address information if they have multiple addresses. Then we've got our financial. So what's their credit limit? Who's the credit manager for them? When we get to our customer options, this is all of that billing information that you need for the distribution side. So do they allow back orders? Do they require that a PO is sent? All of that stuff. If we go to our sales, here's where we can see any of those. This is the sales team that's kind of assigned to that customer. We can see opportunities that are out there for them. So you can see any of those open opportunities or any of the opportunities in general that are out there for them right now and see what statuses they're at. So some of them have been won, some of them are still in the process, and you could query on these query by examples if needed. For the pipeline, we can look at how the orders that they have out there. So here's what our projection looks like for the pipeline based off of our opportunities that we have and what the probability that we think that we have. And here's how much we think we can get from them. Any quotes, so any of those quotes that are out there. Once they have quotes established, we can go through and look through all those quotes and that history, and the same thing for sales orders. All of that history is going to be maintained within that customer 360 record. You can see some of these are credits too. So anything that was done within that sales order module, it'll keep track of them. You can go in here and you can create filters. It'll filter that information out based on the way that you want it to. All right. The last thing that I wanted to show you guys was the emailing and calendar view real quick. You can send out email blasts from within the system. So this is the emailing that's set up. If I do a find, I've got a couple emails that are already set up out there. Got my innovation, webinar, CRM. So it's just talking about we're looking at CRM through the webinar. You can apply a group that you create within JD Edwards to send the email to. So if you have a list that you want to do a mass blast out to, you can do that, or you can send it to just single individuals. So here I've added just myself to send it to myself. It's as easy as putting in your email information, add your group that you want to send it to, and then after that, send email. The other piece that I want to show you really quick, sorry, I'm running out of time. I want to make sure Brian has enough time. The other piece is the calendar. So the calendar view is really nice for any of your sales team or customer service team that needs to keep track of all of those activities that they're doing or things that have been assigned with them. So anything that's assigned to you or that you've assigned for other people, you're going to be able to see out here on your calendar. And you can have reminders that pop up from within the CRM module, and you can create reminders for other people if you were initially doing the contacting and you want to set something up for them because you want someone else to have a conversation with them. As far as adding an activity from this screen, it's as simple as adding the activity, and then it takes you to that same screen where we create the activity. We log what sort of activity type it was, and if there needs to be any follow-up related to that. Okay, so that's what I had as far as creating that quote and kind of giving you guys a quick rundown of what that CRM module looks like within JD Edwards. Next, we've got Brian, who's going to cover the planning portion. So I'm going to go ahead and send this over to him. Brian, you should be getting that now.
All right. Thank you, Adam.
I'm gonna go on mute.
Can you see my screen before you jump off?
Yes, I see it.
Great. So hey everyone, hopefully you've enjoyed Adam's section so far. Brian Rose, I'm going to be going through some of the planning inside of JD Edwards. So starting with a high level of what JD Edwards planning is and some of the capabilities associated to it, and also showing you how in this specific example, how we could take and plan for a quote if your specific organization had that need. So you being able to pick and choose what type of orders, whether they're quotes or sales orders or blanket sales orders or whatever it is across the board, the configuration I'm going to be showing you today is applicable. So from a planning perspective, this is really what the objectives are and what you're trying to accomplish in planning, right? I want to be able to balance my supply and demand requirements. So taking in what my supplies are and my demands and saying, this is the net of what you should build. Now, all of that is going to be based on your planning parameters and your inventory. So how is your inventory items set up? What do your category codes and planning parameters, lead times look like? And then obviously, what does my inventory look like? Whether it's open work orders, open purchase orders, safety stocks, all of those pieces. And it's determining what you should buy, when you should buy it, and how much, okay? There are a couple different replenishment options, and I've broken them into really two sections for today. One are purchased raw parts and one are make items, okay? So one creates POs, one creates work orders. You have your min-max PO generator. This is really good for situations to where you're just trying to keep a minimum level of inventory on hand. Nuts, bolts, paint, stuff that you know you're going to burn through in your organization. MRP is really the big supply and demand calculator, okay? So once again, taking those supplies, demands, and driving and giving you action messages of how you should buy or build this specific product and what time you should build it on from a date perspective. Kanban, this is more of a visual control. So if you're an organization that does Kanban cards, where when a bin is empty, you want to cut a PO automatically, that can all be done in JD Edwards from a Kanban system. We see some organizations do that if they want to be pretty lean and they do a lot of picking inventory from the line or keeping inventory stocked on the line. That's a good use case for it. And then obviously you can do manual entry. So this is going in and manually creating that purchase order or manually creating that work order inside of JD. Make items are all really exactly the same. The big difference is you don't have PO generator because that's only for purchase orders, but you do have make to order sales W line types. So if you have an organization where you have a one-to-one relationship, sales order to work order, you can build out that strategy. So when you cut a sales order, it automatically creates a work order. For things like configurator too, it can generate a parts list as well. So that is something that can be done on the make items perspective. I talked a little bit earlier about data and accuracy and some setup. Without data being correct in JD Edwards, right, this is the foundation of everything from a planning perspective. So your data needs to be correct. And when I say data, I'm talking about inventory, your bills of materials have to be correct, your routings, your lead times, your planning parameters that are associated with those items. That is the biggest hurdle we see organizations run into when utilizing an MRP or even a PO generator tool is the data isn't clean. And that it's only going to be as good as the data that you suffice to it because it's just a big calculator like I've talked about before. So getting that strategy in place is really the first thing you want to tackle when you're going down your planning path. And then obviously transactional accuracy. So are you doing your production completions correctly? Your scrap, your receiving, shipping, are those done in a timely manner? Or do you have things that sit on the dock for a week before they're getting received? All of that has implications to your planning. Something sits on the dock, it's been waiting to be received, you're going to keep getting message that you need to expedite this because it's not getting here in the time, even though it is actually there. So transactional accuracy is absolutely huge, as well as your data accuracy. This is the high level plan around MRP, so the different levels that you can do it. I would say the most of the organizations that I go into start at the MPS, master production schedule level, and then go down to the MRP level. Some just do MRP. It's really dependent on if you want the ability to plan a couple weeks in advance from a planning perspective for work orders and freeze those, or if you're pretty fluid from an organization perspective, you may just run MRP because every day it changes. So this is kind of a high level view of what it can look like and all the different levers that you can utilize inside of base JD Edwards. So the goal for today is to show you not just what planning can be done in JD Edwards, but also how can you accommodate to add quotes to JD Edwards planning. Meaning, normally organizations may not want to include a quote because it's not firm. It's just out there. It's not something you want to plan for. But in this company's specific situation, they feel that this quote is going to turn into an order. So they want to be able to plan either raw parts or the make part associated to that quote, which allows them from a lead time perspective to get that stuff in faster to where they're not waiting till the sales order is actually created to get the product in. So that's a scenario that we're kind of going through today. And the big driver to it is your supply and demand inclusion rules. And we'll jump into JD Edwards and show you what that looks like. But this is where you pick and choose what order type, status, line, all of that do you want to include in your MRP run. And you can have all different types of rules. Normally, organizations just have a couple, but we'll talk about what that kind of looks like. So we're going to go ahead now and jump into JD.
Hey, Brian, while you're jumping over, there was one last question related to CRM. Are there white papers or other reference documents that we can view for the CRM module? Yes, there are. If you go out to Oracle support, there's a lot of documentation out there for CRM. Specifically, one of the documents that you can look at is an overall introduction document. I'm trying to find, it's a white paper out there that's on the docs section. It's called JD Edwards Enterprise One Applications Customer Relationship Management for Sales Implementation Guide. So it's got a whole guide to setting up all of those different statuses and criteria that you need to be able to track for CRM. If you want, go ahead and email me directly and I can follow up with the link if you have a hard time finding it. All right, thanks.
Great, thanks, Adam. All right. So I have jumped into JD, and the first thing you'll see is I have a landing page here, which is applicable to the supply chain planning resource. So I have some supplier analysis, purchase orders with price overrides, and on the left side, I have some watch lists. So these are vendors needing approval, MRP messages, min-maxes, which is our PO generator, receipts that are 14 days out, open purchase orders. So those watch lists are a really great place to build out all of those different data points that you want to be able to see on a day-to-day or hour-to-hour perspective. So I'm going to jump into supply and demand and just kind of show you if you use the base JD Edwards, we'll call it, without configuring your supply and demand inclusion rules, what it's going to look like for a quote, okay? So I'm going to go in here and go to my supply and demand inquiry. And everyone, I'm assuming, knows what this is. This is showing all my ups and downs from an inventory and order perspective. And I'm going to put in this part number. I click find. We're going to see I don't have any demand in the supply and demand inquiry. And the reasoning that is because I'm currently not including SQs with an S line type at a status 500 or 510 in my calculation. Okay. And when I'm talking about I'm not including them, that's where that supply and demand inclusion rule process comes into play. All right. So if I come in and look at my supply and demand inclusion rules, you can have all different types of rules, and you define which statuses for each of those you want to be able to leverage. I'm going to put an MRP here, click find. This brings in all of the order types that you have in the system. Okay. So your order types, your line types, your statuses. So it's looking at that order activity rules table to give you this listing. I'm going to filter this down and do it by SQ with an S line type. And it pulls up all of my statuses that I have in my order activity rules at this point. And what you'll notice is on the left side, I have nothing that is currently included in the planning. And included, all these are zeros, meaning they're not currently selected from a planning perspective. If I click on both of these are the two that I want to be included, 500 line status, 510 line status, click the check. Now these are highlighted in blue. And what that's saying is when I look at supply and demand or run MRP or any type of planning parameter, I want to look at this order type with this line type and at this line status, and include it in my supply and demand MRP calculations. So if I click X, now if I click find, you'll see now I'm getting that SQ for 150 units that Adam put in earlier in my supply and demand view. So very simple to configure, but there's a lot of power, and you can kind of understand how this can be applicable across all different types of orders. SQs is just one example, but it could be all different types of sales orders that you may have from an organization perspective, or maybe if you have an SO that when it's at this status, it's on hold, meaning the customer called and said, hey, I'm going to buy this. I don't know when it's going to be. Please put this on hold. And I don't want to include it in my planning anymore. I can just have an order activity rule status that isn't included in planning and configure that from a process perspective inside of JD Edwards. Okay. Now, I don't have any planned orders associated to this SQ yet because I haven't run MRP. A lot of times what organizations have to do in this scenario is they'll go to batch versions or go to the menu path, go to their MRP run, click their data selection, do down the item number, and all that type of stuff. What you'll see is I just added this little button here, which says run MRP. And what this button is doing is it's grabbing my item number from here, passing it into my data selection for MRP run, and running MRP on it. Okay, so all those steps that you'd have to go through in the past to run MRP for a single item all gets done in a pretty automated fashion. Okay, so run MRP. I click find. You'll notice it ran MRP for that item and has given me a planned order inside of my supply and demand screen. Pretty slick. I can come in here, see demand, run MRP on that specific item without having to jump all over the place inside of JDE. Now, for any of you guys who were in the session we had last week that I did around the modern shop floor, we kind of talked through how you add these buttons, how you associate orchestrations to them, and what that process looks like. And it's very simplistic. The option to create this is as simple as coming over here to my form extension. I've added this run MRP button, and I've associated an orchestration. And all this orchestration is doing is running this orchestration, which I have calling the 3483, which is MRP multi-plant. I define my output, so I'm mapping what input I want to be included in my data selection, and I put it as my item number. And I define how I want to run it. And that's all you have to do. So all of those clicks that you had in the past ultimately go away. And it's simple to run that single, whether it's a net change generation or a gross regen, or maybe you want to run it over a specific CAT code, whatever it is. You could say, I look at the item, do a data request and orchestrator on the CAT code, and then pass that CAT code and then the MRP, maybe the master planning family, something like that. All of that can be configured utilizing the orchestrator, which is really neat. If I come over to FAR 210, same type of thing. So remember, when I ran that MRP, it was just for that single item. It was for the 220. If I come in here and run MRP here, since this is a build part, I got a message for a WO versus a PO, okay? But the fact I included that in my supply and demand inclusion rules allowed me to now utilize it when I'm doing all of my planning inside of JD, okay? And the process to create these orders is very simplistic, and for any of you who are using MRP, you could just come in to my messages, and I have an order change not allowed, but this is going to be able to create a work order inside of JDE. Adam, any questions to this point?
I had one, but I think I got it answered in the messenger. It said, is a form change from Orchestrator correct? I'm guessing that they were asking about the run MRP button that you added, and I think you went through the steps on how you did that right after the question was asked.
Yeah, so once again, that is utilized in the form extension. You go in there, you can add the button, associate orchestrations directly to that specific step.
That was it.
Okay. All right, guys, so we're about 10 minutes to the top of the hour. We do have some more webinars coming up. Please feel free to register for those. Like Adam said, we have one next week that Adam is doing, and then another one that I'm doing later on in the week from a production scheduling perspective. He's doing his one on advanced pricing. So please feel free to join us. Also, if you do have any specific topics that you feel would be great to see, let us know, shoot us an email, and we'll definitely take it into consideration in a future webinar moving forward.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. There was a question asking to restate where the recordings were going to be. Do you have that slide queued up, or else I can share mine?
I don't.
Okay, I'll share mine real quick.
Okay.
So if you guys wanted to look at one of the previous recordings or this one once it's added out there, it will be here. So at the bit.ly/JDE series-recordings. So you can go out there and find that there. If you need us to help you navigate to that and you're having a hard time finding it, feel free to reach out to us in an email. We can send that out. All right. Thanks, guys, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, guys.